Hey you. Yes, you. Are you struggling to play Artemis? Are you tired of losing every time you picked Artemis? Do not understand what her abilities do? And you find yourself being overwhelmed when coming to final builds? Well, do not worry, because you picked the right video. And this video is How to Artemis. Brought to you by Firebug. So I can help you from going from this to this. In this video, I'll be showing you what all of her abilities do in game, and I'll also show you the build that I have crafted. I have found the best build for Artemis. Alright, and no further ado, let us begin. Alright, first things first, let's go over her abilities. Artemis is passive. Artemis actually has two passives, but let's go for the first one. Artemis deals 15 increased basic attack damage to gods and 30% to minions that are inflicted by crowd control. So as you can see here, we have ourselves a dummy. And this is the 3 basics without crowd control. So you see it does 50, 50, 50. Let's do it one more time. Alright, now I'm going to affect him with crowd control. 58, 58, and then goes back to 50. Same goes with Artemis's 3. 58, 58, and then goes back to 50. Artemis's second passive, she is able to see enemy gods in tall grasses. I'll show you what that looks like right now. Alright, now let's go over Artemis's first ability, Transgressor's Fate. Place a trap on the ground. Enemy gods that come in contact with it activate it, rooting, crippling, and repeatedly dealing physical damage over 3 seconds. This is what it looks like. So Artemis can stack these traps if she wishes to. And she can only place up to 4 at a time. You can place up to 5, but as you can see, as soon as I place the 5th one of them disappears. And these will last forever in the game, as long as someone activates them or you redeploy them. Artemis's third ability, Vengeful Assault. Greatly increase your movement speed and attack speed. On activation, you are cleansed of slows and become slow immune for 0.6 seconds. While this buff is active, you gain a charge each time you hit an enemy god with a basic attack. After reaching 4 charges, they are consumed, extending the duration of the buff by 3 seconds. Alright, now I'm going to throw 6 basics at Ymir. Alright, now if you look at the bottom right, you'll see some of these numbers on the side. If you look at the third one is the indication of your attack speed. So on base Artemis, she only has 1.8 attack speed. Now, once I activate my 2, now it has been increased by 1.33. The duration on this ability is very short, as you can see, 3 seconds. Alright, now I'm going to activate my 2, and watch how long I can have it activated as I continuously shoot Ymir. So as you can see in the bottom, my duration, as long as I keep shooting the Ymir. Another great indicator for Artemis is, as you can see around Artemis, you see these purple orbs around her. So every 4 basics, when her 2 is active, it will increase the duration. And yes, you can do this basically forever, as long as you're consistently hitting an enemy. Artemis's third ability, Suppress the Insolent. Fire a volley at a target area, dealing physical damage and slowing enemies. So this is what it looks like. Just what it looks like in max range. Once I activate my 3, it doesn't matter if it's max range or not, they will be applying a slow on them. And to know that the enemy is slowed, you should see a kind of like a tornado or a gust of wind around them to indicate that they're slowed. Alright, now let's go over Artemis's ultimate, or her fourth ability, the Caledonian Boar, also known as Tusky. Summon the great Caledonian Boar that charges the nearest enemy god. So Tusky deals physical damage and stuns enemies. The boar is immune until it hits the first god, and then continues to charge other gods for its lifetime. You are CC immune for 1.5 seconds after activating this ability. Alright, this is what Tusky looks like. As you can see, you will automatically attack the next and nearest enemy god. And then in slow-mo, you can see that Artemis glows more of a yellow green. And that's the indication that you are CC immune. And you're probably wondering, what is CC immune? So CC is short for crowd control. So let's say there's an enemy Artemis and they place a trap and you're stuck on the trap. You can always use your ultimate to get out of it. Tusky can also be used on the minion wave or taking tower shots. This is useful so you can push up and just try to destroy an enemy tower or Phoenix. You could also use Tusky on the Titan. Alright, now here are some combos that I like to use on Artemis. So let's pretend that this totem is chasing after me. Right? You can utilize your trap in front of you, or what I sometimes like to do is just put it on top of you. And the reason why I like to put it on top of me is, say if I'm getting attacked from the left, right, or even from behind, and I'm staying on top of it, this will activate and stun them, giving me the opportunity to run away or to go back up and still attack them. So the combo that I like to go for Artemis is to place a trap, get activate my 3, and then your 2. So it should look something like this. The reason why you want to do this combo is because it's the easiest way to get as much damage as possible. And let's say that you did miss your trap. Don't worry, you can always hit your 3. Your 3 has a big radius, and that slow is considered as a CC prep, and you'll be able to do more damage. Alright, now for the full combo. What you want to do is, if you have your ultimate, you always want to utilize your ultimate the best way you can. And this is for engaging the enemy. And so the combo is going to be looking like this. So you add Tusky first. Then you get 3. Then you 2. And this is what it looks like in real time. Alright, now you understand the basics, but now you don't know what to build in this game. And building looks a little daunting for new players. But do not worry, let me help you out. Alright, so when you go to the main menu, when you select the gods, you picked Artemis, you want to look at Artemis's kit, and so you understand what her 1 does is the traps, her 2, her 3, and her ultimate. And then you'll also understand what her passive does. And do not worry, I'll go over her aspect later in the video, but for now, you don't know what items to build. Well, it is easy to understand if you look at each of the god's abilities, and it gives you a better understanding. So for example, if you don't know if Artemis is better off with magical or strength, if you look at one of her abilities, her trap actually scales with strength. So goes with her 3rd ability, strength scaling. Tusky, strength scaling. And most hunters or any gods that have the attack speed, or what other people say AA gods, right? Basic attack, is all your basic attacks will always do more strength damage than intelligence. And do not get this confused that yes, you can build intelligence on Artemis, but it will not benefit you. And the reason why it won't benefit you the most is because if you go back to Tusky, it will say 90% strength. So that even if you did all intelligence, your abilities would not hit as hard. And another thing, the intelligence is only 100 compared to 100% of strength plus 20%. So for Artemis, it'd be easier just to go for a strength build. And for most hunters, they're usually on the strength scale category. So now you have somewhat of an understanding that she is only good for strength, and that will eliminate half of these items that you see on the screen right now. Because if you don't know, you could go to strength. These are all the strength items that you have. You see, it's less daunting than looking at all of these items at once. So in this video, I'll only be talking about strength items. So Artemis is a hunter, and you probably don't want to utilize defense. If you see the hybrid, we're not going to utilize any of these items, so you can ignore that as well. The only items that you're probably going to be worrying about is these items. And do not worry about what is a tier 1, tier 2, or a tier 3. And you don't have to worry about the passive or what they do. Just know that you're only really going to be focusing on is trying to get to your full tier 3 item. So that being said, you can ignore the hybrid items, you can ignore the tier 2 items, and you can ignore the tier 1 item. And your main focus for new players, especially, or even old players, is the main focus is you want to build your tier 3 items. These are the strongest items compared to a tier 2 or a tier 1. So these are going to be your strongest and final item. Alright, and after doing my own research, after going for the community builds, after watching other YouTubers, watching pro players, watching Twitch streamers, reading Reddit, after all that in my own calculations, I have made what I believe is the best Artemis build that it would be easy to understand for new players, and it'd be utilized pretty well with even older players. This build may help you win more of your games. They would go in game and show you what each of these items do. The first thing you always want to see is the relics on top. And you probably wonder what these relics are for. So relics, right, they help you benefit from the game. And the best one for Artemis, hands down, after doing tons of me playing my own matches, purification beads is a must. So you chose your first relic. Now you're going to go for starter items. Starter items is going to be your additional slot. So this is going to be your starter item, and this is going to be your 6 slots of items. But the starter item has its own slot. And think of it as this is going to be a tool that helps you with early game and late game. So with my build, the best starter item for Artemis by far is Gilded Arrow, and the second option that you can go for is Death Tool, but in this video I'm only gonna be talking about Gilded Arrow. In a future video I'll go over all starter items, all items of strength, intelligence, attack speed, and so forth. But in my opinion, Gilded Arrow is a solid starter item for Artemis. This item gives you 15 basic attack power. So your basic attacks will actually hit a little bit harder with this item, and it gives you 10% attack speed. The passive says every 10 seconds the highest health enemy minion or jungle monster within 12.8 meters of you is marked. If you secure the killing blow on that target, you gain 3 bonus gold and 15% attack speed for 8 seconds. And restores 30 mana. This item requires level 20 to upgrade. Alright, so it's like you went up to a monster camp and you probably see at least one of these have an arrow on top of its head. This is going to be the mark from your starter item. Once you kill these guys, so once you kill them, you gain the bonus damage, attack speed, and the mana. And this also works on minion waves. So as you can see on the bottom, it already marked a minion. And then the next mark, as you can see right there. So what makes this item such a reliable item in the beginning is just because of the base stat of 15 basic attack power. So let's say compared to this Vampiric Shroud, it gives you the 20 intelligence and 75 max health, but you're not here for max health, you're here for damage. Also, if you remember, Artemis only scales with strength, so this item wouldn't be utilized for her. If you're not too sure what level you are, you can always look at the bottom left next to your icon, and it should have a 2. And once you reach level 20, now, and at level 20, if you go back to your starters, you might see a little arrow indicator. And this is going to be indicating that, hey, you can upgrade this item now. So now, let's read the upgraded version, or the final version of your build. This will give you 40 basic attack power,
middle tower is under
15 attack speed, and 15 critical chance. The passive also changed. Gold gains from kills and assists are increased by 5%. Basic attack damage is increased by 10% when hitting an enemy god over 7.5 meters away. So what makes this item super useful is Artemis likes to be in the backline. Doing so in team fights, you want to be in the backline as much as you can, right? With this full version of this item, you'll see how as soon as I go up a little bit, you'll see how the enemy will turn red. This is going to be your max distance that you can shoot your basics or abilities at. And some abilities wouldn't be able to reach it, so I'm going to shoot 3 basics up close and afar. Attack. So let's do the one that is far away and see how much damage it does. Alright, now let's see how much damage it does if the enemy is up close. As you can see, being farther away benefits you and does a little bit more damage than being super close to an enemy. Alright, so in the very beginning of the game, you're probably going to have enough gold just to build at least a starter item and a tier 1. And again, like I said, for tier 1 items, you don't really have to worry about which one you're going to build exactly.
Under attack.
But if you have a general idea of what your next item is, like if you click on it, it will already pop up the menu or the tree, and all you have to do is double click it, and the game will automatically, based on how much gold you have, will automatically fill up these gaps. Alright, now we have a fully built first item. So another way that you can understand what early game, late game, and mid game is, and you might hear this a lot in Smite. So in early game, it's going to be probably around these 3 items. So your starter and 2 items. And then mid game is going to be these items. And then late game is going to be this item. So in early game, what I like to do is at least have some power, attack speed, and some lifesteal. So the Reaper is going to give you 25 strength and 20 lifesteal. However, the passive, when you damage an enemy god, you gain 5 strength and 2.5% lifesteal for 4 seconds. So when I do any damage without any stacks, you can see this kind of red aura around Artemis. And this is just indicating that you have procced your Reaper. And as you can see on to the bottom right, you'll see the 25 of the fist. And the fist just indicates F strength. But as soon as I shoot the Ymir, I gain actually 5 strength.
Under attack.
And then of course, when the duration of the Reaper goes down, I go back to 20. So as long as I hit an enemy god, I'll gain that additional 30 strength just automatically. And also the increased lifesteal. But that's not the end of this item. Killing a god provides a stack, increases the buff by another 5 strength and 2.5% lifesteal when triggered. Stacks up to 6 times. Alright, now I have 6 stacks of the Reaper. So at level 1, with 6 stacks of the Reaper, and as soon as I hit the Ymir now, I go up to 60 strength, just with 1 auto attack. That's pretty strong. So if you killed 6 enemies and you have 6 stacks of the Reaper, your first basic attack to an enemy god will jump up to 60. So this is the damage with full Reaper stacks. Alright, and this is the damage without any stacks with the Reaper. Another thing that you're probably wondering is like, why Reaper, why not any other item? Well, if you remember what Artemis's passive does, if you hit an enemy god with the CC or any crowd control, she gains the additional basic attack power. So at level 1, you're probably going to level up your 3 ability first because it has a huge area, helps you clear wave, and it slows enemies that is CC. So if you look at the power again, and as soon as I hit the Ymir again with just the Reaper, it increases the power. However, if I hit the Ymir with the passive, I'll do additional more damage. So you can see how this item will stack up my basic attack power and my passive will stack it up. So I'm going to throw my 3, then hit him with a couple basics. You see how my damage is up to 71? Alright, so with no Reaper stacks, you see how it does 5 to 100 per damage. Now I'm going to throw in my 3. You see how it went from 100 to 115. That's because of the passive and Reaper procced. Because the very first hit is going to only do 95. And then since the Reaper is procced, I'll do 100. But as soon as I throw in my 3, you see how my basics now do 115. So not only that it gives you more basic attack power and damage, but this will even give you lifesteal in the very beginning of the game. And the lifesteal also stacks if you get a kill in the game. And then you might see other builds actually rush range more, but I like to put rage second. And let me explain why I put rage second. So the Reaper goes hand in hand for Artemis, so it's gonna give you a better advantage and it helps you sustain more. Yes, rage will give you that 20% critical chance, and depending on the 20% chance, right, you would proc a little bit more damage. However, with Reaper, you're gonna have the lifesteal, and lifesteal in this game not only affects gods, but you can also lifesteal off of minions too. So let's say like there's an enemy god, if you train these guys, got all 3 of them, you see how I was healing off of it. And then after killing these guys, you can see how I'm almost all fully health again. So you have the lifesteal compared to just 30 strength and 20% crit chance. And I understand why people go for this item first, then lifesteal, but for me personally, after doing my own testing, this will help you, 1, do the damage, 2, help you heal off of minion waves, camps, or even enemy gods. And so that 20% crit chance when the damage is applied to you, you could probably just get a lifesteal off of it, giving you the best way to outbox someone compared to someone that is rushing range. So let's read what range does. Gives you 30 power, gives you 30 strength, and 20% critical chance. Passive says you permanently gain 4% critical strike chance when killing or gain an assist on an enemy god. At 5 stacks, this item evolves, gaining 10% critical strike chance. So when you do a critical strike or anything, it'll give you a huge power bonus. And since this range isn't fully leveled up, I'm only going to do a 20% chance to crit. So as you can see, I'm doing some crit damage. But sometimes, as you can see right here, it's not reliable. Like sometimes it will proc, sometimes it won't. What the crit chance, then the more crit chance you have, the more it's going to be proccing the crit. Alright, so this is what it looks like with the Reaper non-stacked and the range non-stack. And I'm going to do probably 6 basics. Alright, now I'm going to show you what it looks like with all stacks of the Reaper and range and how much damage it does. This is what it would look like if you start off with range. So you see it goes from 103 and it's taking a while to get that crit chance. So 103, 103, 103. Oh, crit. And then crit. Alright, so now you have 3 items, and this will conclude your early game. So now you'll probably think, what else am I lacking with this build? Well, you're probably lacking the attack speed, because now you have the power, but you don't really have the attack speed unless you activate U2. But as you can see, U2 has quite a long cooldown, and you want to probably utilize U2 if you are, one, need to escape the situation and you need to get away. And what most people do for Artemis is they'll slow the enemy and then turn around and then activate U2. Another thing you might see with Artemis players do is if they're low enough, is they ult, turn around, and run away. As you can see, the attack speed is kind of lacking, even without the 2 being procced. If the 2 is procced, it's a little bit better, but you could do even more attacks. So now I'm going to introduce you guys with a active item. So think of active items kind of like your relics, but it's in a item form now. So now it's going to be your item form now, right? And if you don't know how to find an active item, if you don't know what is an active and what is not an active item, always look for this light bulb on the side. That would just indicate that this is going to be an active item. And if you have a hard time finding this item, it should be up here. But if you want to find all the active items, then you can just go all the way down here to active, and it should pop up all the active items in the game. This first active item is going to be Dagger of Frenzy. It gives you 35 strength, 10% attack speed, and then the active says you gain 10 plus 3 per level basic attack damage, and 50% attack speed for the next 6 basic attacks. Killing a god refreshes the current cooldown. Cooldown is 15 seconds. You're probably reading that, you're like, what is 10 plus 3 per level? So in Smite, every time you level up, you gain a base stat. So at level 1, Artemis, this is what her base stat looks like. She doesn't have strength, doesn't have intelligence, she only has 2% attack speed, little bit of physical protection, magical protection, health, so forth and so forth, and movement speed. But every time you level up, you see how it's slowly you gain more health, more mana, slightly more movement speed, and slightly more attack speed. Then once you reach level 20, you can see the difference. So your attack speed goes up to 30 compared to a level 1 that is 2%. So again, here's the difference side by side. can see the difference. So every time you level up, you actually gain a little bit more of that basic attack power. Alright, so if you go back, you can see that the strength is 90 and my basic attack power is only let's say 142. What this item is going to do is if you activate it, increases it, gives you the attack speed, and your next 6 basics would do extra damage based on your per level. Another thing you might notice is I turned off my star item, and the reason why I turned off my star item so you can see a difference with and without the star item with the basics. So if I level up, right, with Artemis, let's say I level up to 5 times, and now my basics should hit a little bit harder. So now it's going to be 153. Let's say I level up to level 10. Now it's 166. And then at max level, my basics will now do 192. Now, without activating my passive, I'm just going to activate my active item. So again, my basics is going to be 192. But my very first hit's going to be 187. So now I'm going to activate my active item. Now my next 6 basics is going to do even harder. So you see it's 260. As you can see there, it was 263. Yeah, it's 262. My bad. 262. And then it goes back to 192. So that's without the star item. Now let's go to the star item. So now it's going to be 207 or 202. And then if I activate this, right? 270. So it's 277. And again, since I'm level 20, I can upgrade this. So now my basic attack not only do 15, but it will be upgraded to doing up to 40 basic attack power. And not only that, but if you remember the passive, this will increase by 10% even more if you're farther away. So this is what it looks like up close with the upgraded level 20 Artemis. You see 232. Now I'm gonna go for the furthest distance. So I'll pop it around here. As soon as it goes red, I'm gonna just do basic attacks. 255. And then watch as soon as I use my active item. 332 per basic. And we're not even fully built yet. That's why I chose this third item, and it increases with your attack speed. And the attack speed that I have right now, without upgrading my second ability, and my base attack speed is only 155. But if I use my second ability, as soon as I activate it, it gets from 220. If I activate my active, goes from 205 until I shoot 6 basic attacks. And then if I activate my second ability, it jumps from 2.70. Alright, now let's go for the third item. So the third item that I chose for Artemis is Musashi's Dual Swords. This gives you 30 strength and 30% critical crit chance. But the passive says, when you critically strike an enemy, you gain 10% movement speed for 4 seconds.
Always be prepared.
So I set up 3 mirrors down this lane. And this is what it looks like with the crit and the activating to catch up the last mirror. So I'm gonna get a crit, active, hopefully get a crit, and then move. So that was pretty fast. You're like, oh, that doesn't look too fast, right? Oh, well, now this is what it looks like if I didn't crit anyway. Your middle tower is under attack. Didn't activate my 2. So, didn't activate my 2. Then go for this guy. And then this guy. See how it took a little bit longer? Alright, so let's say like I was attacking the Titan and we were 1v1ing in my lane. However, I spotted the enemy Loki here, so it's going to be a 2v1. I could choose to fight this, but it would be most likely that I'll end up dead. So what I'll probably end up doing is probably slow the Loki and then run away. And then as I'm running and he's chasing me, I can try to get a lucky crit on the minions or even another enemy, and I can have a better chance to survive. Another fun fact with Musashi's dual swords, it is the highest crit chance item in the game. So this will already give you 30 compared to the 15. This does give you 30, but it has to be fully stacked, and of course 20. Next item is Executioner. Executioner will give you 15% attack speed. Also, Executioner has 2 passives. So let's read the first passive. You gain 40 strength or intelligence depending on which stat from items is higher. So for Artemis, she will already automatically gain 40 strength. Second passive, when you damage an enemy god or jungle boss with a basic attack, applying piercing, reducing their protections by 6% for 4 seconds. Stacks up to 4 times. So I'm gonna quickly kind of go over what is protections. So I'm gonna have 2 Ymirs. The first Ymir is gonna have 0 protections, and the other Ymir is gonna have 100 protections. So protections are items, and there's physical and magical protections. Do not worry, Artemis will not be building these protections. Let's say that I am the enemy Ymir and I need to have protections to fight against this Artemis. And as you see, as soon as I build any of these physical protections, I'll have some. So let's say for Artemis's sake, let's say the enemy Ymir has spectral armor, right? So that already gives him 50 protections. And then say like he gets another physical item that's already 50 plus 35, so that's 85 protections. But for example, this is Ymir with 100 protections and this is Ymir with no protections. What Executioner is going to do is going to reduce his protections, but I have to stack it up to 4 times. So this is why you want some attack speed. So this is Ymir with no protections and he'll do the full damage. See how I can reduce his health pretty fast? Now with Executioner, but with protections, it's a little bit slower. But as soon as I have my 4 basics on this Ymir, and there's no indication on my screen, but for the enemy, he will have a proc. And what a procs are is, if you remember down below, you can see how my Reaper is being procced. And you can also see Musashi's dual swords for being procced. But so the green is going to be like basically the buffs, and then you might see a red one down below in that same area above your health, and that's going to be a negative proc. So for the Ymir, it's going to have a negative proc, and that's going to reduce his protections. So again, you see his health bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then anything after that, that'd be easier for me to kill him. This is the Ymir with no protections. Alright, now let's go for the last item, Demon Blade. Demon Blade gives you 30 power, 15 attack speed, and 15% critical chance. When you critically strike an enemy, you gain 30% attack speed for 3 seconds. And at level 20, I'll have 1.85 attack speed with full items. So this is what it looks like. Pretty solid. Activate my tip. 250. Then activate this. Straight up 3.00 attack speed. However, you could even go even further when I get crits. And you're probably like, so what is the crit now? So if you have the full upgraded version of Sharpshooter and Arrow, you gain 15, 30, an additional 15. Now you have 90% crit chance it says when you critically strike an enemy, you gain 30 attack speed. So now you have the power, you have the attack speed, you even have an active that increases your attack speed, and you have your 2. Now my attack speed is 2. It was so fast that I couldn't even read it. So my attack speed is now going to be increased. So it'd be 2.35 with Dagger of Frenzy. And now when I activate my second ability, it's going to be even more. But as soon as I get a crit, you saw how it jumped from 3 to 3.0 to 3.30, right? Let me show you again and probably slow it down for you guys. 3.30. So this is what the full build looks like. You're gonna get hit like a truck. This is gonna shred almost everything around you if you consistently hit your attacks. If you do damage, you have the penetration, you have the lifesteal, you can self-sustain. This is why I think and I believe that this is going to be the best build for Artemis. So to quickly go down, for people that skipped ahead and don't care about me reading off the passive and all that, this is what the full build looks like. So full build, Gilded Arrow, and then it's going to be upgraded to a Sharpshooter Arrow, then the Reaper, Range, Dagger of Frenzy, Musashi's Dual Swords, Executioner, and Demon Blade. For the Relic of Choice, most of the time, and I have more success winning with Artemis just by with beads. So the one thing that Artemis really hates being is she hates being in a CC or crowd control. She doesn't like to be entrapped by the enemy trap, Artemis, or a Ymir that's freezing her, or anything that disrupts her from moving. Because this is the build that you want to move and move around and still do damage. And trap them so it's easier for you to hit them. Just get to stun them. You get the you want to consistently be moving. And then you're like, oh crap, I need to get away. You can go behind you. You can find a camp and do a quick, damage. So you get that damage, the crit. So you can move away, leave further. You can run away, see a minion, get these lucky crits, get away. Right? You have a slow, so you slow him, do a crit, move away. Like, there's so many options, but the one thing that Artemis, the only thing that that would really hurt Artemis, if you stand still and you take a slow or you get pulled by an Ares and all that. So that's why with beads is the best option. Yes, you have an ultimate that also does the same thing, and 2 is better than 1, that I like to say. So let's say like you beads the Ares ult, but it's on cooldown, and then let's say the Ymir is gonna freeze you. You can ult, and it has a lower cooldown than your beads. But the reason why I chose beads is because you're probably going to use it a lot more than you realize, and once the cooldown is done, then you have more options to escape from a different scenario that you don't want to be in. Because again, Artemis does not have a dash. She doesn't have any other escape. The only thing that is working for her is routine. That will boost her movement speed. And then you can probably try to get a lucky crit, or you can slow the enemy, or you can try to place a trap, and hopefully they don't walk around it. And of course you have Tusky. Alright, now let's go over Artemis's aspect. So, what is a god's aspect? A god aspect is basically a different way to play your god or goddesses in a different role that they usually are assigned to. So for example, Artemis, she is very good at going as a carry because of how her builds are and her abilities is meant for basically the carry role. However, you could turn a god aspect on and now she can fill the role most likely in mid. So let's read what the god aspect does for Artemis. Aspect of the Wild. Transgressor's fate no longer roots or cripples gods, but can now target minions, triggering traps. Now also heal Artemis and deal damage to enemies in a larger area. So this will change Artemis's one, and I'll show you what it looks like in game. Alright, another thing to keep in note is always make sure if you want to play with the aspect, make sure it's turned on and you'll see a green check mark around it. So, and you'll see it radiate some light and it's always going to be right here. So now let's go over the aspect. And if you're not sure if you have the aspect or not, you can always look at your character where it says level 1. And then you'll see the icon, an orange icon. That's going to be the aspect. Alright, so the aspect is what it looks like. So it has no visual differences. However, as you see when the minions hit it, it gives it a bigger radius. So you can see it right here. So it's a big radius. And this is going to heal Artemis. And it will do tick damage. However, the downside of this is this will no longer cripple or stun the enemy. Alright, this concludes of how to Artemis in Smite 2. Provided by Firebug. This video took way too long than I expected, but I really just needed to have more time to really perfect everything. So you might notice in these clips that I am providing you at the very end that they're going to be different builds. These are going to be more as me experimenting and what really works with Artemis, because I did sit down and experimented with almost all the items that you can think of with Artemis. And yeah, some of these clips are interesting, so I hope this is entertaining for you guys as well. Yes, I could have just threw up a build and call it a day, but I wanted to do something different and really help those who are more as a visual learner and have a better understanding for what Artemis abilities does and what some of the items I have provided you in this guide. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is because I've seen so many other videos or streams or like different influencers kind of do the same route when it comes to Smite content, and they kind of just throw a build up on the screen and call it good, and they play like a match and kind of just upload the whole match. And I wanted to do something a little different and not just show you guys like, oh, here's one match and I performed pretty well with it with just that one match with Artemis. These are a bunch of matches that I have included at the very end of this video and experimenting with items and doing tons and tons and tons of research. So I think I perfected the Artemis build, but if you have any other suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Also, share this video if they're more as a visual learner, and share this video for people that are getting into Artemis and want to learn more of how to play her. Artemis was my very first diamond god or goddess in Smite 1, and now she was my very first goddess in Smite 2. So it was like a special connection just to make this video, and I've always enjoyed playing her. And hopefully for those who also are an Artemis fan, I just want to know in the comments of why you like Artemis and what makes her such a special and unique character for you. When I first wanted to do this video, I was going to do the lore series like I usually do in my channel, and I was going to go for more as a lore friendly of Artemis, and I can do that in a future video if people are still interested in the lore series. And if you haven't watched any of my older ones, I recommend the Skadi one. The Skadi, I go over her lore, and it is a little bit older video, but I go over for her whole entire lore and give you guys a build suggestion in Smite 1. That all being said, if there is another guide that you want me to showcase, because I can play any god in the game. I've played Smite for years. So I have a good understanding to play every role and every character in the game. But I could do another guide if you just want to see it. Just leave it in the comments below, and I'll do another guide like this. Also, leave a like, because if enough people like this, then it helps not just me, but it helps YouTube to really push this video out for other people that are interested in Artemis. And it helps me better understand that, yes, the community or people do want guides, like full-fledged guides, to help them understand each god or goddess in the game. Also, I just wanted to say thank you so much if you stuck around all the way to the end. And if you want to support me, subscribe, like, comment, share the video. And yeah, that would really help me a lot. I am a small YouTuber, but I want to make better quality videos than quantity. So yeah. Alright, that all being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the battlefield. Good luck and happy hunting.